Hi, today we have another of the Bordogni vocalises, number 29 in the Melodious Etudes for Trumpet book. And this one's a little shorter, and it's kind of pretty. I like it. But whether you like it or not, you want to try and make music out of it. So I'll just go ahead and play it for you, and we'll look at a couple of ideas from this piece. Ooh, boy. That was rough. I had a really bad tickle in my throat. Almost had to stop. And that kind of brings up a little idea about performance mindset. When you're performing, it's do or die. That can be pleasant or unpleasant experience, but you can't stop. It's kind of embarrassing if you stop and start crying and run off the stage. So you just have to keep going, and it's kind of a warrior mindset. So hopefully it'll be more comfortable for you when you're practicing it. Okay, what can we look at in this? Okay, there's a little spot. Where is it? Looks like bar maybe 17, pick up to 17. And this is a detail, but these are the kind of things I want you to notice, especially if you're a more advanced player, because these little details kind of accumulate together, and they bring a whole different level of complexity to the music, which makes the music more effective. It's kind of like the difference between, a young wine, let's say, which tastes good, it's a good product, or something that has been put down for a number of years and has accumulated a great deal of complexity. So we're talking about these details are the complexity in the flavor. So, please pardon me. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So pick up to 17. Those grace notes are a little like I'm having trouble seeing them. Okay, so here's what I want you to think about here. You have quick notes that are written out, 16 30-second notes. And then you have the grace notes. So are they different? And I'm thinking of them a little bit differently. So I'll give you an example. So I'm playing the written out rhythm more literally, and the grace notes inflected. They're kind of rushed through, and as a result they have a gesture. So work on that. That will be an interesting thing. You might have to record yourself to be able to tell what you're doing. Slow it down. Do it with explicit subdivision. If you have trouble with this, again, play with the metronome. This is all fun stuff. At least for me it is, but of course I'm a trumpet nerd, so what do you expect? There is a good example, that spot, of something else. And that is what you might call breath inflection. Now this is what a singer would do. And we're trying to imitate that. And I can't stress how important this is in terms of the expression of the music and how powerful it is, how it kind of separates different levels of players. Because it's a high level craftsmanship skill, but in a sense you already know how to do it. And if you're not sure, practice with your voice, because that's where you already know how to do it. We do it unconsciously. So if I go back to the beginning, so that's a little boring. Da, 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 and you can't really hear the energy of the rhythm. Now there's a whole spectrum available to you in terms of how much you do these things. But I'm just going to, you might say, bump the 30-second note a little bit. There are different ways of thinking about it. You can think about it as something that, where the dotted, rather the quick note after the dotted note, you're kind of throwing air through that note into the next note. So it's always going somewhere. That's a really helpful way of thinking about it. But if I did it with my voice, at least I'll try. See how that has much more rhythmic intensity, even though it's totally sustained and fluid and lyrical. And this is, you can really use this in the orchestra. You need to. It's just part of basic musicianship. So I'm going to play with a little inflection then. Now that octave change that quick might be difficult. That's a perfect example of where etudes like this can show you where your skills are lacking. So now you know what to practice. Now I think you can figure this out for yourself. That quick movement, that quick octave change, that's something you're going to have to build up to. But you can't do it unless you have developed the skills. It's always going to be awkward. You start to get a mental block about it, and it's not going to be fun to play anymore. So our goal here is have fun and give other people enjoyment when we're playing. So go and work on those details. That'll be very, very helpful. Let me show you another spot where where that breath inflection can make a huge difference. Also, I'm going to show you what I do a lot in order to keep track of the subdivision. Now there's a spot in this piece, where is it, around bar, I don't know, 31, 30, something like that. You'll hear it. It's kind of where I just stopped playing. So I'm gonna go ahead from there. And what I want you to listen to is, I'm gonna play it once, and I'm gonna go back and play it with, so you can hear how I'm thinking about the subdivision. And this is something that's automatic for me. It's automatic for any trained, experienced musician. But it's something that at some point you have to learn and practice and ingrain until it's happening automatically. So you do it on purpose when you practice. This is not about counting. It's about feeling that the flow of the subdivision. That's what gives the music its integrity to a large degree. So where am I going to start here? So I'm doing some very detailed, kind of delicate things in there. Now, I hope you could hear it. I'm going to go back and tongue the subdivision, just starting at the sustained notes. it's interesting is everything is moving. It's all 16th notes, 8th notes, and then one spot in the middle, you're sustaining tone. And when you do that, the music keeps going. So this bean dun ding dun 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 da. That's what you need to have. And then you're back into tempo. One other little detail here, it says rallentando. So a lot of people, I've noticed, a lot of people are obey the traffic signs, right? Well, not when they're driving, but when they're playing music, they obey the traffic signs. And what I mean is, you see rallentando, you say, oh yeah, that means slow down. Well, that's true. But see, you've already been slowing down, and now you've already sustained the note. You're in a fermata. Nobody knows where the tempo is. You have to show them where you're going. In order to do that, and this is something that happens, again, in a lot of romantic music, Mahler, again, I actually speed up a little bit so I can show that there's a rallentando. So instead of going, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You need to experiment with these things. I'm going to play it differently. So, I let it roll at the beginning so I could do the rallentando, and then right back into that feeling of steady flow of the subdivision that was there before. Yeah, one more thing, then I'll let you go. Practice. If hopefully you're already practicing, and this is part of your practice. I've learned recently that a lot of my students are using these videos that way. I just take them into the practice room and kind of avoid beating up their chops by thinking and working on these some of these musical details or these craftsmanship, technical details as they're practicing these etudes. And I hope you can find it useful to do the same thing. Okay, so I'm just going to do the end. Now it's interesting. You play through the whole thing. It says piano at the beginning. There's no other indication that the dynamic level should change. But then at the end, it says piano 2. And I want to point out, the piano marking, soft, it has to do more with attitude, more with character, more with mood, more with color, texture, transparency, density of the sound, qualities of the sound, than it has to do with a decibel level. Now, I've said that before, but we need to start freeing ourselves from this. So I'm going to be thinking color. So let's see, I don't know, a good place to start, somewhere after 50, maybe around 50. So I hope that gives you some ideas. You see how I totally changed my voice? And this is all in your musical imagination. If you don't feel like you have much of a musical imagination, I disagree with you. But if it feels that way, cultivate it by listening to great players, as I've said many times. Okay, I think that's enough of me talking for today. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll come back again soon. And have a great day. Enjoy your practice. Bye-bye.